Bienvenidos, mi gente. I am your host, Francisco X Rivera, and this is Golazo Today, coming to you from Los Angeles with a jam-packed episode you don't want to miss. We're at the halfway mark in the league phase of the UEFA Champions League, and today we're diving deep into the results and drama from match day 4. Plus, we'll talk MLS Playoffs after some first-round upsets with even bigger surprises possibly on the way. But before we go any further, let's welcome back to the desk my compa, the one and only Chivo Mayor. Compita, how you doing?
Hermano, happy to be back at Golazo today. I think we're going to have a great show today. Don't miss it. Stay with us.
All right, are you ready to talk Champions League?
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it, my brother. So we're ready into this so-called league phase in the UEFA Champions League. Some of the heavyweights coming into action, major upsets as well. We're talking about some teams coming out swinging. We've seen some upsets. How about Manchester City with Sporting CP? I mean, we thought, Man City, Guardiola, and then again, Sporting with the whole thing about Rubén Amorim. But what about a 4-1 shocking defeat in the hands of Sporting CP? Victor Gyökeres, the Swedish. That's why I'm wearing my Sweden merch today. Today. Because, I like Victor Gyökeres. I like his hat trick. He was just impressive, man. What are your thoughts about this game?
Well, I think, man, I think Manchester City, first of all, Josep Guardiola, he's, for the first time since 2018, has lost 3 consecutive games. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if it's because Rodri is not in the lineup, but definitely you can tell that they're missing something. I think that Manchester City, with the team that they have, they should be beating teams like Sporting and have them at the top of the Champions League.
It's interesting. I was looking throughout social media. I don't want to make fun of anybody, especially Manchester City fans. I'm sorry, guys, but there's a picture that has Pep Guardiola standing, very close to Rubén Amorim, who's the so-called new manager or said to be the new manager of Manchester United. And Pep is just looking at Rubén like, hey, what's up? And that was very interesting to me. And that could be, it could be the very future of the Manchester Derby, right? That game that's so special for these teams. So that's why, in my opinion, this win by Sporting CP, led by Rubén Amorim, was very, very meaningful.
Well, let's see if Amorim is going to take Gyökeres to Manchester United. Maybe they can help them beat Manchester City finally.
That's what they're saying. And then again, I don't want to say, rumors are going to hold true, but this is going to get interesting. So there is plenty more action. And, over at the Bernabeu, this is a game that, to me, I grew up a Real Madrid fan. I'm not as much anymore. But I remember the late 80s when Ruud Gullit, Marco van Basten, Frank Rijkaard, the Dutch superstars would beat the, out of Hugo Sanchez, Butragueño, and Real Madrid. And that's why Hugo Sanchez, he won everything in Spain, but he could never win the Champions League. So that is why this win by Milan this week, 3-1 at the Bernabeu, was very meaningful. And I think a lot of Real Madrid fans or who grew up, liking Hugo and those guys, that will resonate a lot because this was a game that was not supposed to go that way for the Merengues.
Not only that, coming from a defeat versus Barcelona, a spank versus Barcelona, rather than Bernabeu, I think it was shocking. I think it shocked the world that Milan was able to beat Real Madrid. But again, they're missing Carvajal. I think it's an important piece for Real Madrid in the back. And you can tell, man, like Madrid is struggling a lot defensively. I think that they got to do something about it. Ancelotti definitely needs to make some changes because Madrid, psychologically, they don't look like they're there. And they're the champions because we have always seen Real Madrid in La Liga, they play one way, and when they go to Champions League, they become the monster that they are. We didn't see that against Milan.
Chiva, before moving on to the next game, you follow a lot of CONCACAF, U.S., Mexico, etc. How about Christian Pulisic? I mean, is he the guy? He's playing really well in Europe. Can he translate all of that and bring it into the team for Mauricio Pochettino?
Well, that's what US is hoping for. Everybody's hoping to see that version of Pulisic here at the CONCACAF games. He had a tremendous game with Morata, Como dicen, para que la cuña apriete, tiene que ser el mismo palo.
Right.
Had a phenomenal game versus Real Madrid. And hopefully Madrid gets back where they're supposed to be, man.
And that will pretty much, I mean, it's impossible to translate para que la cuña apriete tiene que ser el mismo palo, but if you're playing your ex, you're going to do well. And that's exactly what Alvaro Morata do. Now let's go to the land of John Paul, George, and Ringo. Anfield, Liverpool cruising to a 4-0 victory over Bayer Leverkusen. The record is perfect so far. Luis Diaz with a hat trick. I mean, the Colombian has been unstoppable pretty much for Liverpool. How about Xabi Alonso coming back? Then again, talking about the law of the X, coming back to Liverpool where he played tremendous games. Now, coach for Bayer Leverkusen, things didn't go that well for him.
Well, I mean, when you have a team like Liverpool in front of you, it's gonna be near impossible. Even if hasta la cuña apriete is a saying. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, Leverkusen, they try their best, but Liverpool, let's face it, with Salah and Luis Diaz at top, they're a very super strong team, and I think that for me, Liverpool is like the number one team to win this champions.
They're my favorite team, so I'm with you, brother.
Nice.
Let's go. You know, Beatles, Liverpool, Anfield, etc. Let's go all get immersed in this culture. But anyway, before we jump into Wednesday's fixtures, let's quickly take a look at some other notable results from Tuesday's action. PSV Eindhoven beating Girona 4-0. You know, Malik Tillman was impressive. Then let's talk about GNK Dynamo beating Slavan Bratislava. Sandro Kulinovic started with a brace to secure Dinamo's second win. Then Monaco, the former team of Rafa Marquez, beating Bologna, one of the surprising teams. Celtic in Scotland beating Leipzig 3-1. Juventus, another team that can contend, drawing against Lille, 1-1 game for them. And then Borussia Dortmund just nearly got an upset against Sturm Graz. They got a 1-0 victory. So now it's time to dive into the Wednesday's action of the UEFA Champions League. Some great matchups, very surprising outcomes, and some games that had significant impact into the group standing. Let's go to Estrella Roja, Red Star of Belgrado against Barcelona.
Barcelona that surprised the world by beating, again, I go back to Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Yeah. With all these youngsters on the field, but you know what? It's more outstanding, the fact that Lewandowski is finally scoring more goals, and it seems like he's connecting with the youngsters, because everybody will think like this is a very young team, he's too old for this team, and he's delivering, man.
Yeah, Hansi Flick is doing a tremendous job. I mean, we say it week in, week out. We thought Rafa Marquez was going to get that job, or at least, you know, there was a good possibility, but not there. So talking about Paris Saint-Germain against Atletico de Madrid, Atletico got a great win against Paris, but let's see what they can do with Cholo Simeone and company.
Man, Cholo Simeone is always a very tactical manager, and you know, the result tells us that. And Atletico de Madrid is always a contender, but unfortunately, les falta el peso para el dólar.
I know, yeah, they're so close. One of my favorite teams, one of the teams that has pulled upsets since last year in the EPL and now in this round of the Champions League, Aston Villa, taking an unfortunate loss against Club Brugge. It was a 1-0 defeat, and we were talking off the air that game and how the defense unfortunately betrayed, and we're saying it in a respectful way, Libo Martinez.
My God, man. I mean, I understand that happening in the Sunday league where I play, where you can, you know, you're probably focusing on what you got, the tacos you're gonna eat after the game. But on a professional level, how can you not see that Dibu give him the pass? I mean, it was a terrible mistake that cost them 3 points, and they went down to, I think, to the 8th place. You know, terrible mistake, and he needs to. If I was the coach, I would put him on the bench for the next game.
Well, it could happen. They're professionals, but at the same time, they're humans. It is what it is. Now let's go to the beautiful Monaco. They secure a narrow 1-0 victory over Bologna. They maintain their position in the top 4 of the group. What do you think are your takeaways of this match?
I mean, Monaco, one of the teams that used to be one of the best in France. Is we have to see them back, and I think that with the team that they have right now, they're gonna give more upsets than everybody thinks.
Yeah, when Rafa was there, I mean, they were a tremendous squad, and obviously, I wouldn't say. I mean, it's a small country, Principado, as they would call it. They're so focused on F1. It's probably the only place in the world where it's so motorsports every year. But then if soccer can bring them something back, it'll be interesting now that they're facing some of the heavyweights. So with that said, that's it, Chiva, for our Champions League recap. We've seen some electrifying matches, and the stage is set for more thrilling action. So stay tuned as we dive into the MLS playoffs and Liga MX updates next. But don't go anywhere. We'll reveal the Mexican national team roster for their upcoming match against Honduras in the CONCACAF Nations League, diving deeper into this week's must-see matchups in both leagues. You won't want to miss this, so stay tuned. This is Golazo Today. Last one.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What can you say about Hunter? Besides the fact that he's got to be healthy. Remember, he had the shoulder injury that kind of limited him at, once he got to the end of the season. 17.9, 10.9 last year, and he should be, as usual, a double-double machine. He's got to be able to continue to show the ability to try and shoot the ball from three.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Golazo today. We've got a loaded segment for you, diving into the intensity of the MLS playoffs. We've seen shocking upsets, nail-biting penalties, and a few series heading to decisive Game 3s. Can the underdogs keep the momentum going, or will the heavyweights strike back? You know, let's just get started with MLS, because I know you want to talk MLS. That's your cup of tea. But let's start with Columbus, man. The exit was very surprising because they pretty much won it all throughout the last few months. They defeated LAFC, as you well know, in that MLS Cup final that hurt a lot of people. And it just seemed that those guys were up in the rise. They're done. They're gone.
It's, man, I'm shocked. Everybody's shocked. I think that if you follow MLS, one of the teams that was strong candidate to be a champion again was Columbus Crew. And the fact that the New York Red Bulls in 3 games were able to eliminate them in penalty kicks in the last game just shocked the MLS world. I think that the way the style of play that they have, the players that they have, I mean, literally the team was very strong. But again, they play the New York Red Bulls that give everything that they had. They believe in themselves. I mean, the goalie, the Paraguayan, and the penalty kicks was phenomenal. And now you see an upset that can happen to more teams if they don't get their act together.
You know what? We were talking about this off the air. I was in Jersey for one of the first weeks of the season, calling the game there. And it was a home opener for Jersey. It was raining, it was cold, but seeing fans at like 30 degrees without their shirts and just chanting and screaming, under the rain, it gave me a vibe that this team, it's not only the team. And Luis Morgan, my God, he's a leader, he's a superstar, and he's one of those guys that very, very well hidden under the Messis and the Buangas, etc. He can be one of the stars in the playoffs. But this team has a great squad, great vibe in the stands, and they can go far. Now, let's go into Atlanta United. How about that matchup against Inter Miami? We said in the show before, they have nothing to lose, but the way they won that game against Montreal, that advanced to the main playoff round, or the best of 3, we thought, well, Atlanta, they might be more motivated. The exit of Gonzo Pineda brought a lot of doubts, but it seems that they're here to fight, man.
I mean, with a goalkeeper like Brad Gustin, with all the experience that he has, I mean, you saw the game. Even in Miami struggled to beat them. Everybody thought there was going to be a piece of cake for Miami because, I mean, they have amazing players. But I think that they're going to play the third game. No, I think that if you and I will talk about this before the play, we'll say Miami in 2 games for sure.
Sure.
Because of what you just mentioned. But Atlanta United can surprise, again, the MLS world. And and they've been playing pretty good. I think that they're not afraid of facing Messi and Suarez and all them. I think that Miami's gonna go home early.
And as we go into Orlando and Charlotte, one great thing to remember about this best of 3 series, it doesn't matter how many goals you score or allow in each game. You have to win the game. It doesn't matter. And going into Orlando and Charlotte, Orlando showing some flashes of brilliance in game 1, but they struggled in game 2 against Charlotte. What are your thoughts in this series?
Man, for me, I think Orlando has the advantage to advance. But again, it's football, it's soccer. And Charlotte been, I'm just surprised by what's going on with MLS, man. Like, honestly, I think it was going to be like an easier first round for all the teams that we thought were the top teams. And, and this one I think is more, it's more like equal for more balance. And I want Orlando to advance because I want them to eliminate Miami.
Well, one thing that I can tell you, our good friend, former Chivas goalie, Martin Pulpo Zúñiga, as always, every time we do broadcast together, he's talking about Charlotte's goalie, Kalina. And he could very well be the top goalie this season. He's been incredible for Charlotte. Finally, a series you really wanted to discuss, I'm sure. Game 3 between LAFC and Vancouver. Last year, LAFC gave Vancouver no choice. They could not even get their hands dirty. I mean, Vancouver, that first game ended up 5-2. Then they went to Vancouver, won the game. I can tell you, I remember that because I was assigned the whole series, but I could only do 2 games. So LAFC took care of business, no problem. This year could be different. Why has it been different from Vancouver?
Because, I mean, the coaches they have, man, he inspires everybody. I mean, he even seeing him so happy. Even us, even me as an LAFC supporter. But let me tell you something, man. LAFC, they need to come out on Friday, and they need to set a statement for the league and say, you know what? We're a top contender. We won this cup because it's right there. It's right there. But in front of them, they have a Vancouver that they have nothing to lose, that they come out and they play with a lot of heart. And sometimes in football, heart can take you to farther places more than if you have better players.
Yeah, and you know what, Vancouver, then again, you talk about Vanni Sartini, I think you hit it right on the spot. This guy will make you believe that you are right on top, and I think his attitude has been golden for Vancouver so far. So let's see what Ryan Gold, Brian White, and those guys can do against the powerful black and gold. Another powerful team that's struggling to make it to the next round, FC Cincinnati. I mean, we've talked about Lucho Acosta, former MVP, about the great environment in that stadium. I mean, Cincinnati has really embraced Major League Soccer, and I'm sure you as a big supporter, I'm sure are happy to see what's happening in places like Charlotte, like Cincinnati, new franchises. But Cincinnati's struggling to make it, man. And who's in NYSC FC, New York City, has a shot for Game 3.
100%. I think New York City are playing a really good football. I think that Cincinnati, for some reason, they didn't close the season the way they wanted to. And we can see that on these matches between them. And for me, I don't have to say my picks right now, but I'll tell you later.
Not yet. And one thing that I know affects you as a fan, Brandon Vasquez from Cincinnati was supposed to sign with Chivas. But supposedly Cincinnati was asking for a lot of money. He went to Rayados Monterrey, but I'm sure they're missing him.
And now he's rent.
Exactly. And I'm sure he's missed with Lucho Acosta and all. So that's where things stand with some of the biggest stories in round 1. But now let's take a look at the updated bracket to see who's moving on and who's still in the fight. So very interesting, Julio. LAFC and Vancouver will be fighting for that chance to face Seattle.
Yeah, and then on the other side, we have also LA Galaxy faces Minnesota, and hopefully it's LAFC versus Seattle, and another game versus Seattle that is to advance to the final. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And now in the East, we have obviously Miami and Atlanta going for that semifinal berth. They'll be facing the winner of Orlando and Charlotte, and then at the same time, the New York Red Bulls will be waiting for the winner of Cincinnati and New York City FC. So that wraps up our look at the MLS playoffs with some excitement building for the decisive Game 3s this weekend as we're in for a thrilling conclusion. But don't go anywhere. Up next, we'll reveal the Mexican national team roster for their upcoming match against Honduras in the CONCACAF Nations League. So stay tuned. This is Golazo Today.
The Seahawks, I expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Golazo today. I'm your host, Francisco X Rivera, and now we're shifting our focus to the Mexican national team as they gear up for the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. Under the guidance of El Vasco, Javier Aguirre, this team is looking to make a strong impact in their upcoming matches against Honduras. So it's time to break down the roster and highlight key players who will be crucial for Mexico's success in this tournament. So, Chiva, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, first of all, are there any players that you can highlight? Any surprises? Any guys that you thought should be here for sure? Any absences at all? What do you think?
I mean, we definitely have some absences like Piojo Alvarado, obviously because he's injured, Chucky Lozano, Santi Jimenez. But I think that the player that has surprised me in the last game, and that I hope that he's back, Raúl Jimenez, can be a player that can impact positively la selección mexicana. I mean, he's a player that can bring what we need at top, the fire that we need.
Of course, Cruz Azul contributing with 6 players. And I think you can tell from the great moment that La Máquina is putting together in this tournament. I was watching a video, and then, I watch a lot of social media. What the heck? But I was watching a video on the Cruz Azul channel, how Martin Anselmi actually introduced every player that was making it to La Selección. And he left at the end a very intriguing name. Obviously, Alexis Gutierrez making it for the first time, a big one. Carlos Rodriguez, Luis Romo, etc. But Ángel Baltazar Sepúlveda coming back, a guy that you know very well, he's been bouncing from team to team. As a matter of fact, before he made it to Cruz Azul, I was calling a Pumas Querétaro game for Leagues Cup in DC. He scored a beautiful goal there to give Gallos the pass, and it was quite an upset against Pumas. Since then, he was once again brought to Cruz Azul, and he's been thrilling, man. What do you think about this intriguing number 9 option for El Tri?
I mean, we need every option that there's out there, man. Honestly, I think that Sepúlveda is, like you said, he's been going through a lot of teams, but he's having such a great tournament, and he's good and bad because some people say that la camiseta del Tri la están malbaratando, you know, they're just bringing any player. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I mean, if you're giving a chance to Quiñones, to Berterame.
Berterame is not here, by the way. That's another interesting one. Do you think that's a snub? Do you think he deserved to be there? What are your thoughts on Berte?
I think we have better players than Berterame, you know, to bring to the national team. But again, I mean, it's if they're an option, they're an option, and Vasco Aguirre is not gonna think about it twice if he feels that they're gonna help the team. But I'm happy for Sepúlveda. I'm happy for this Mexican, not too young, that is making it to the national team, and hopefully he can deliver, man.
A controversial take here when we talk about goalies. Luis Ángel Malagón considered amongst the best goalies in the world. I think he's been on a good run with America. We have Tyler Rangel, you know him really well from Guadalajara. And that intriguing option there with Guillermo Ochoa. Obviously, he's not doing very well in Portugal. This goal that has gone all over social media as well, that he just allowed, he was under the sun, and I think light blocked him, etc. Who do you think is the goalie that can match up with the power that the U.S. and other teams in CONCACAF can bring?
I mean, either Malagon or Tyler Rangel can be, you know, easily our number one goalkeeper. But even though Ochoa is making those mistakes, let's not forget that when Ochoa wears the El Tri jersey, he turns into a monster in a positive way. And he's a great goalie, and he's still in shape. So for a game as important and as strong as like versus the U.S., if he's 100% at his level, he should be the starting goalie. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "What is he talking about?" Look at the mistake he just made. He already give like, I don't know, 1,200 free trees in Portugal or something like that. I follow social media too. But anyway,
right.
I think Ochoa, if he's being called to the national team, he should deserve to be the starting goalkeeper.
So we talked about the forwards, we talked about the goalies. When you look at the midfield set by Vasco Aguirre, who's that player who's in your mind? Who could be the highlight for this team?
I think definitely Orbelín Pineda is a player that is dynamic. Like he goes forward, and to me, he's like the best midfielder that we have.
All right. Okay, so that wraps up our coverage of the Mexico national team. They will be facing Honduras, led by Reinaldo Rueda, a team that's always very complicated, especially when they're playing Mexico. You know, anything can happen in those games.
Especially in Honduras. So we have to take it very serious. We have to go there with the mentality that it's going to be a very difficult game, because then Mexico, too, sometimes they play the way the other team plays, you know, como el camaleón.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that they show their best version and they make it to the next round. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, I think the number one rival for Mexico is the U.S. Sure. And can we beat the U.S.?
100%. But first, we have to focus on November 15th at the Francisco Morazán Stadium with a return match on Wednesday, November 19th at the Nemesio Diaz, an interesting site, La Bombonera de Toluca. So Mexico looks to secure their spot in the next stage. All eyes will be on Javier Aguirre's team and their performance. Alrighty. Chiva, as always, man, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming, and welcome back to your casa.
Gracias, hermano. Thank you for having me. Don't miss Golazo today.
Perfect. All right, guys. So it's time to say goodbye, wrapping up with our coverage of the Mexico national team. Thanks to our great production team, to Julio Chiva Mayor, our guest today, and obviously everyone at SportsGrid and Latin Nation. I'm your host, Francisco X Rivera. Until next time.
Here we go. Welcome to Week 10 of Beat the Odds. The votes are in America, and Teddy has been named the sexiest sports handicapper in America. How about that? Our silver fox, smart and handsome. Jack is very jealous. Beat the Odds starts right now.
From our Las Vegas studios, this is Beat the Odds, sponsored by Superbook at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, and powered by SportsGrid.
You don't like the word sexy?
I don't. It makes me uncomfortable.
Cringy?
It's just cringy. It's like old and cringy.
All right, well, then we're going to keep saying it. Welcome inside our sexy Las Vegas studio. I'm Dave Hall.
And I'm Raya. Jono's cringing really hard. It's Week 10 already. This season is absolutely flying by, and for some teams, it just can't be over fast enough.
Yeah, like our team here in Vegas, Jacksonville, Dallas. Big D's a big mess right now. Coming up on today's show, Teddy and Jack will talk Dallas and why their defense is really floundering right now, plus our player prop showdown and their best bets.
And I'll have our weekly chat with Brandon Marshall about the 9-2 win teams and where they go from here. The guys from SportsGrid are here too.
Hey, Vegas, we're excited to beat the odds with you guys once again. Coming up, Joe Lisi and I will look at a superstar performance from Saquon Barkley with a little bit of a letdown coming from Indy's Jonathan Taylor and what it means moving forward. So sit tight, and we'll join you in a bit. It's back out to the crew in Vegas.
The crew with the sexiest sports handicapper in America.
It's right there. All right, it's right there. They took out the bikini contest. That's what beat me. So otherwise,
Wow.
I'd been fine.
Jack, you were a distant 95th. Don't worry.
Exactly.
You were right there.
I'll tell you, though, what's been also really, really nice and sexy for the general public are these favorites doing really, really well. I mean, straight up and against the number, right, Teddy?
Sure. What do you got? 96 and 56 against the spread. over the last, I think it's 6 weeks. So, yeah, the favorites have done very well